is news.
John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon participate in the first televised presidential debate.
Richard M. Nixon and the Democratic candidate, Senator John F. Kennedy.
Thich Quang Duc set himself on fire to protest against the persecution of Buddhists.
Melvin Mentor defines news as a break from the normal flow of events and interruption in the expected. It is not concerned with the ordinary, but the unexpected, unusual, and dramatic.
Martin Luther King delivers his I Have a Dream speech.
It's the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. I have a dream.
Walter Cronkite announces the death of President Kennedy.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Lyle Spencer defines news as any event that is new, that interests and affects a large community, and that is understood by all. News is a coinage to express anything timely and significant happening in the north, east, west, and south.
Neil Armstrong becomes the first man to walk on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Charlie Chaplin receives a 12-minute standing ovation. President Nixon announces his resignation.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Muhammad Ali wins the Thriller in Manila by technical knockout.
Doctor comes up and looks at Frazier. I think it's going to be over.
America is held hostage.
One of the captives, blindfolded, was brought out into the open. Yankee go home, they cried.
On the other hand, Jackie Harrison defines news as that which is judged to be newsworthy by journalists who exercise their news sense within the constraints of the news organizations within which they operate. This definition is somewhat tautological, circular. It begs itself.
Live Aid becomes the biggest benefit concert in history. The Space Shuttle Challenger explodes.
My controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
The Berlin Wall finally falls. Operation Desert Storm begins. Over 2 billion viewers watch Lady Di's funeral. President Clinton denies having an affair with Monica Lewinsky.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
How exactly do journalists pass upon the newsworthiness of news? Knowing the attributes or characteristics of news might give us the answer.
The World Trade Center collapses. Madonna kisses Britney Spears. The Indian Ocean tsunami makes more than 200,000 victims. The levees breaks and water rushes into New Orleans. Deep Horizon's explosion leads to a disastrous oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The Japanese tsunami becomes the costliest natural disaster of all time. Steve Harvey crowns the wrong Miss Universe.
Colombia! I have to apologize. Miss Universe is Philippines.
Attributes or characteristics of news are accuracy, brevity, clarity, fairness, impact, objectivity, oddity, prominence, proximity, significance, and timeliness. First attribute, accuracy. A news story should contain all the necessary information correctly. It should answer the questions: what happened, where it happened, when it happened, who are in the happening, and even how it happened and why it happened.
nahulog ang isang pampasaherong bus sa Skyway kaninang umaga.
The story should not contain any false information or fake news. To avoid any misinformation and inaccuracy of information, always check the numbers, spellings of names or organizations, and the 4 W's and 2 H's.
Sa unang tingin pa lang ng rescuers, alam na nilang marami silang bangkay na ihahango. Tumambad sa kanila ang tila pinagpatong-patong na bakal at yero at sa ilalim ang mga katawan ng tao. Lagpas alas 5 ng umaga kanina, bumabiyahe ang Don Mariano bus papuntang Pasita Alabang southbound sa Skyway. Walang ano-ano, lumagpas ito sa railing ng Skyway at bumulusok mula sa taas na 30 hanggang 40 metro at bumagsak sa Service Road southbound sa pagitan ng Bikutan at Sukat exit.
Second attribute, brevity. Because a news story consumes space on print and broadcast, and because the readers and viewers don't have the luxury of time, every word counts. Words and sentences should be kept short and direct to the point.
Aksidente na naman sa Skyway, isang SUV ang nahulog mula sa Skyway at bumagsak sa konkretong bakod sa baba nito. At nangyari po yan mula pang 2 linggo matapos lumambitin sa railing ng Skyway ang isang pickup truck.
Unnecessary words and phrases should be discarded. Put all the important facts in the lead, the first sentence, and the first paragraph of the story.
Nakasabit pa sa konkretong bakod sa baba ng Skyway sa Taguig ang sports utility vehicle na ito ng tatna ng mga otoridad. Nahulog ito mula sa northbound lane ng Skyway kagabi. Matindi ang tinamong pinsala ng SUV. Tanging ang pader na hollow block na ito ang sumalo sa pagbagsak ng SUV mula doon sa taas ng Skyway, pabagsak dito sa service road. Kung makikita nyo naman sa lakas ng impact, nagkadurog-durog itong pader, yung mga halaman nasira, at dito sa gilid ng service road naiwan pa yung ilang mga parte ng SUV.
Use variety of sentence lengths, but avoid compound complexes. Long sentences convey relaxed, slow mood, while short sentences convey more active, tense part of the story.
Kapang 2 linggo nakaraan, isang pickup truck naman ang lumambitin sa railings ng Skyway southbound sa may Bikutan. Bigla raw pumutok noon ang kanang gulong ng pickup truck at dumaustos dahil sa madulas na kalsadang dulot ng pag-ulan. Natanggal ang bakal sa railing na bumagsak sa isa pang SUV na nasa ibaba ng Skyway. December 2013 naman nang mahulog din mula sa Skyway sa Parañaque ang isang pampasaherong bus. Bumagsak ang bus sa isa pang sasakyan. 18 ang namatay sa aksidente.
Third attribute, clarity. This is a matter of careful choice of easily understandable vocabulary and sentence structure. Unless the publication or news program has defined group of audiences, the news should be understood by the general public. Avoid using jargon and technical terms. If these terms are necessary, explain or translate these into ordinary language. Observe correct grammar and punctuation. Use transitional devices appropriately. Progress logically from point to point. Put everything in order.
Oh, you already know about the 5 W's of news gathering. I now want you to talk about the 3 C's of news writing. And the C's are as follows: to be clear, to be concise, and to be correct. Clear, well, to write it as if you were telling the story to one person. Use simple language that everyone will understand. And try not to use a long word if there's a perfectly good short word that does the same job. That's a good guide.
Fourth attribute, fairness. Fairness pertains to the way the news is delivered or the truth is being pursued. That is, in delivering the truth of the subject of the news story, no damage should be caused to anyone.
Yeah, I was actually standing at this very spot, Charlie, doing a live on air when we saw policemen coming in and they said that we needed to move and shelter away from where we were. We were moving.
The ethics of journalism should be observed at all times, and the rights of everyone concerned must be respected. Get quotes right. Be careful in rephrasing somebody's statements so as not to misrepresent nor take it out of context.
tear gas having to be employed in the Capitol buildings. This is the seat of democracy in America. We saw demonstrators jumping on the platforms on the floor of Congress. There, a demonstrator that broke into Nancy Pelosi, that is the Democratic leader of the...
Take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Not for the first time, Donald Trump's words stoked a dangerous situation.
These are not acts of peaceful protest. These are acts of domestic terror.
President Trump called for the crowd to disperse, but did not condemn the violence.
Fifth attribute, impact. Impact is determined by the number of people and communities affected by the news story. The more people are involved in a disaster or controversy, or the bigger the names in an event, the more likely the item is to be on the news agenda. Any news about the COVID-19 has great impact worldwide precisely because no one is safe from the onslaught of the pandemic.
Now to another grim milestone, the world surpassing 1 million deaths from the coronavirus.
Sixth attribute, objectivity. The objective of the news is to tell the truth. The reporter's personal opinions, biases, or emotions about the subject of the news should be set aside.
It's 8:52 here in New York. I'm Brian Gumble. We understand that there has been a plane crash on the southern tip of Manhattan. You're looking at the World Trade Center. We understand that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that. We don't know if it was a commercial aircraft. We don't know if it was a private aircraft. We have no idea how many were on board or what the extent of the injuries are right now. We have, I understand, an eyewitness on the phone right now. Sir?
You know, approximately 10 minutes ago, there was a major explosion from probably, it looks like about the 80th floor. It looks like it's affected probably 4 to 8 floors. Major flames are coming out of the north side and also the east side of the building. Yes. And it was a very loud explosion followed by flames, and it looks like the building is still on fire on the inside.
Use neutral tone and language. In print, avoid exclamation points and bold letters.
Another plane just hit. Right, oh my gosh, another plane has just hit. It hit another building, flew right into the middle of it. Explosion. My God, it's right in the middle of the building.
This one into the east tower.
Yes, right in the middle of the building.
Seventh attribute, oddity. No one really cares anymore about the usual predictable and daily routine like the early morning queue of passengers at the MRT or the kilometric traffic congestion at EDSA. Our curiosity is rather aroused by events that do not normally exist like these.
Pinag-aaralan ng pamunuan ng LRT kung paano pa mas mapapangalagaan ang seguridad ng publiko. Yan ay matapos masawi ang isang babaeng tumalon sa harap ng paparating na tren sa EDSA Station sa Pasay.
Ito ang inabutan namin sa LRT EDSA Station bandang alas 7 ng umaga. Maraming pasahero ang naghihintay sa itinigil na biyahe ng LRT Line 1. Halos 4 na oras na paralisa ang biyahe mula Hilpuyat papuntang Baclaran at Baclaran papuntang Vito Cruz. Sa kuha ng CCTV ng LRT Line 1 pasado alas 5 ng umaga, makikita ang naglalakad ang gwardiya sa platform. Pinaalalahanan daw nito ang mga pasahero may paparating na tren sa EDSA Station. Paglampas ng gwardiya, saktong parating ang tren. Tumalon sa riles ang isang babae. Mag-aalas 9 ng umaga nang maalis ang katawan ng biktima na tinatayang edad 50 hanggang 60 taon. walang nakitang kahit anong identification card mula sa kanya. Hindi ito ang unang pagkakataong may tumalon sa release ng LRT. Katunayan, simula 1984, may 24 ng katulad na insidente sa LRT Line 1. Dahil sa nangyari, pinag-aaralan ng pamunuan ng pagpapabuti ng seguridad sa LRT. Lalo pat isa ito sa pangunahing mode of transportation ng publiko. Kabilang sa mga panukala ang paglalagay ng salamin o fiberglass na magsisilbing barrier para hindi muna makalapit ang mga pasahero sa tren hanggang ganap na itong nakahimpit.
Violence erupted during a demolition operation. City Mayor Sara Duterte repeatedly punched the sheriff of the Davao Regional Trial Court, Abe Andres, during the demolition. Duterte had asked for a 2-hour extension of the deadline to demolish shanties, but demolition teams pushed through with their operation. This then led to a scuffle between the residents and demolition teams, prompting a fuming Mayor Duterte to attack the sheriff.
Trending news stories are those pertaining to the odd, unusual, and extraordinary affairs and phenomena. Those of crimes, vices, tragedies, and everything extreme, extremely good or extremely base acts of persons.
Sabi ko, fuck you. Why are you threatening me?
Бачите, московська жороба гнида. Де $500 на вишках украв і хоч недобитки Януковича.
Fuck with us, not
Odd news story can be good source of humor and entertainment value as well.
Muling humataw sa kanyang mga punchline si Senador Miriam Defensor Santiago.
Tanong, kung ang opposite ng pro ay con, ano naman ang opposite ng progress? Sagot, anong opposite ng progress? Sagot, Congress. Tanong, lahat ba ng fairy tale nagsisimula sa once upon a time? Sagot, hindi. Ang iba ay nagsisimula sa kung iboto ninyo ako. Noong 2013, tumakbong mayor ang tatay ko. Pedro, wow! Ano bang ginagawa niya ngayon? 1. Wala, nanalo siya eh.
May I request the Chief Justice to discipline, at the very least to admonish and to reprimand this group that feels itself so high above the law. Just those two gentlemen in the gray barons, nakita niyo.
8th attribute, proximity. Related to impact is proximity, which pertains not only to the geographical nearness but the cultural, psychological, and emotional connection of a news event to the audience. As a rule of thumb, nearby events take precedence over similar events at a distance.
Takbo! 25 taon na mula nang sumabog ang Mount Pinatubo, ang pangalawang pinakamalakas sa pagputok ng isang bulkan noong ika-20 siglo. Mahigit 800 ang namatay. Mahigit 10 bilyong halaga ng ari-arian ang napinsala. Ang pagsabog na yan sinabayan pa ng paghagupit ng bagyong Diling, kaya mabilis na kumalat ang ibinugang abo at bato ng bulkan.
Umuulan po ng abo, ganun din ang mga batong maliliit.
Dahil sa matinding pagsabog, naapektuhan maging ang global climate. Ang ibinuga nitong abo, umabot maging sa ibang bansa.
Breaking news out of the region this hour is one of the strongest storms
to ever make landfall in recorded history has hit the Philippines.
Super Typhoon Haiyan is already the strongest tropical storm we've seen anywhere.
More than 700,000 people reportedly have fled its path. What's worse, hundreds of thousands of people affected are still recovering from a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that hit just last month. At this point, it's still hard to grasp the full extent of the typhoon's damage.
Thousands of people have fled their homes in the Philippines, seeking safer ground away from the danger zone of a possible volcanic eruption.
It has the potential for explosions.
That's volcanologist Eric Clemente. He says that despite Tall's small stature, it's one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. A volcano with a deadly past, claiming more than 1,300 lives in 1911 and another 190 in 1965.
Thick volcanic ash blanketed entire towns, caked roads in slippery mud, and covered acres of farmland, turning this normally packed tourist hub into ghost towns of gray.
Taal volcano continues to belch ash and steam, and nearly 500 earthquakes have rocked this region ever since Sunday. Officials warn an eruption could be imminent.
The news event must be happening within the community where the audiences are located, or the news event must be something the public can feel strongly about.
We have some breaking news from South Korea. South Korea's military says that North Korea launched 2 short-range missiles toward Japan. They were reportedly fired from North Korea's eastern region right into the Sea of Japan. Now, Japan's prime minister is calling it a threat to Japan and saying it's also a threat to the international community.
South Korea's military, together with the United States, is monitoring the area for more launches.
9th attribute, prominence. Prominence may pertain to the stature or popularity of the subject of the story, or to the treatment of the news story on the page layout or news program. Those with most prominence are allotted bigger space and longer airtime treatment. Since news is about people, this is reflected in the need to reduce complex events and issues to the actions of individuals. Activities of countries' leaders have more prominence than those of leaders of local communities. More prominent news stories occupy the front page and main headlines, while those of local communities take the inner pages or local sections. Less prominent news stories can be removed from a news broadcast to save airtime. Prominence also pertains to the structure of the news story. Follow the inverted pyramid or deductive structure in presenting the details of the story. The most prominent part is the topmost part. The first sentence or first paragraph should already present the what, where, who, and when of the story. Tenth attribute, significance. News stories can have long-term and deep-range values. Since news records important and relevant events, it records facts and data as part of history. Not only does news inform the public of events happening around them, it can be stored and retrieved for research and future references. 11th attribute, timeliness. Freshness is a vital attribute of news. It should be delivered promptly, immediately after the occurrence of the event, or as it happens.
Tama ang sentro ng bagyo dito sa bahagi ng Tacloban. Ito po ay yung papalapit pa lamang na bagyo at batay dito sa direksyon ng ating hangin, ito pong Yolanda ay nandito po, no? Dito po sa karagatan at diretso tumutumbok dito sa bahagi ng Leyte kung saan tayo nagla-live ngayon at TV dito sa bahagi ng Tacloban.
Just like food, news that has been stocked overnight and recycled is no longer as much sellable as those out of frying pan items. Events that happened weeks ago are history, not news items of today anymore.
Palagay ko ito na yung storm surge natin dahil sa kung kanina nakatatayo pa ako dito sa lansangan sa labas, ngayon ay hanggang tuhod na yung tubig. Ito po ay malamang galing po sa ating karagatan na nandito lamang sa aming likod. Ito po yung posibleng storm surge na, ang taas po ng tubig. Palagay ko ay pambihira itong ganitong nangyayari na tumataas yung tubig dito sa downtown Tacloban. Sa magkabilang bahagi nitong ating kinatatayuan, talagang wala na tayong makita. Siguro mga 10 feet, 20 feet lamang. Pero sa lakas ng hangin at yung dala niyang ulan, napakatindi ng loss of visibility namin. Hindi namin masigurado kung ano ba yung sitwasyon ng ating mga kababayan dito. Ito,
Competition between news outlets puts a premium on exclusives and scoops. The trend now among multimedia news organizations is to take the public to the very scene of the newsworthy event to go live streaming via the social media.
That's all, folks.